Yo, what's up, everyone? Before we get to today's episode with Michelle Brigman, I want to share a quick word from today's sponsor, Modulate. Look, we all know it. Fraud is evolving fast, and your CX systems, well, they better keep up. Your agents aren't just handling tickets anymore. They're the frontline defense against social engineering, deepfakes, and voice-based phishing attacks. Modulate's voice intelligent platform brings AI-powered protection inside the conversation, not after the damage is done. Here's what it delivers in real time. It flags refund abuse and phishing attempts by spotting deepfakes and suspicious tone patterns. It detects urgency, cues, coercion, and manipulation before your agents fall into a trap. And Modulate also escalates emotionally volatile or high-risk calls instantly to protect customer trust and brand safety. The result? Fewer chargebacks, less fraud, safer conversations. If you're serious about experience and security, it's time to stop playing defense and start detecting smarter. Check out the link in the episode notes or the newsletter to learn more about Modulate. Now, let's get to the episode with Michelle Brigman and Unfuck It. Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I am your host, Zack Hamilton, and I woke up today saying it's Michelle Brigman Day. And the reason for that is Michelle and I we have been partners in crime. We have tackled some hard challenges together in customer experience. And she is just someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for because she has been in the trenches. Like when you're talking about listening to CX thought leaders and practitioners, there's always one person in my top 2 or 3 that I'm like, what do they have to say? And Michelle's one of them. So Michelle, welcome to the hot seat.
I'm so happy to be here. I love talking with you, and thank you for the lovely introduction. But
And
man,
it's
we do. We've got some battle scars
I've been
and
teasing
bruising.
you for a while.
You have. I was digging my heels in for a while too.
And I had to call you out on LinkedIn to get you to come.
I was like, oh,
But
I see what you're doing.
all of our conversations for our listeners, they typically go really, really, really wrong. In true hot seat essence, we will max this at 20 minutes. We'll try and get out of here in 15. But to try and cap Michelle and I is going to be tough. But Michelle, a lot of these conversations that take place, they typically just don't, come up in a meeting room. They don't come up just at the water cooler. You really have to have a safe space to talk about some of these things, right? Where's that for you? Is that your favorite pub, favorite restaurant? Are we going to take a walk? Like, where is this conversation happening?
It's on the patio, is what outside, but it's probably on a patio with the freaking whiteboard because whenever I get in like the creative, I want markers and I want a whiteboard and I want to brainstorm all the things because I love the ideation and exploring process. So that's what we're doing.
Love it. I'm a freak when it comes to whiteboard as well. Like it's just get everything out, right? Michelle, you've had so many tremendous experiences. You have solved so many incredible problems. You've been in the industry, in the discipline. And I know there's so many topics that make you cringe, but what's the one topic in CX or contact center or EX or whatever it is that's making you cringe the most that you just want to unfuck today?
I'm ready to unfuck today customer service, tech center leaders that are living in an island. I want them to get out of the isolation that they put themselves in. They feel like the redheaded stepchild. And we're going to talk about how to get engaged. Get engaged because you have so much to offer that I don't think you even realize.
I love this. And I think for organizations, if you aren't a contact center leader, but we have many executives who listen to the podcast because I've gotten so many emails. You also play a critical role in this because you play a critical role in making them a cost center. You play a critical role in not engaging with them the way that you should be engaging with them. And quite frankly, that your customer service team, your contact center agents or team members, whatever you call them, are the closest to the experience, then by far probably anyone in your organization. So, Michelle, before we jump and go further, why do you think we keep having this conversation?
So I think that there's this reputation or brand around the support organization that is a necessary evil. It's a cost of doing business. And so it's accepted as there's pain and that team's going to handle it. And no one upstream really understands their role in elevating quality, their role in supporting the organization, and how to just really shift the mindset that it doesn't have to be acceptable pain. Like you don't have to say, we tolerate that. Like get in the mindset of we have zero tolerance for failure because that's what service is. It's representing most of the time. I mean, there are exceptions where you have people who love it and they just want to call and tell you that. But for the most part, it's identifying a failure point, and we ought to
Yeah.
all care.
Yeah, ultimately, I think the way that I used to, because I had the contact center as well.
Mhm,
We call it the Home Solution Center when I was at
mhm.
Aaron's. And I used to explain in a pure definition to my executive leaders who just, I didn't feel like they really understood. Customer service happens when experiences break down. And so when we're launching new experiences, we're launching new initiatives, the customer service center or our home solution center is also one of those very early warning signals of something's happening that if we just address very quickly, it can change the trajectory of what we're launching. I'm curious, like, how do you explain it to executives?
Well, so I want to dig in on what you said about the early warning system because I think this highlights where there's opportunity for improvement. So as an early warning system, yes, but what often happens is let's say your call types don't change, so it's hard to pinpoint what's actually the root cause. We know we're seeing an increase. We know there's a spike at our interval, but we don't know why. I mean, as an example, I remember sitting in the command center at Citi watching 100 agents with 17 chat windows open, talking to the front lines, going, why are our calls spiking? Why are our calls spiking? And the calls were the same as they always were. There
Right.
wasn't some new call type showing up, but that just highlights the fact that whenever the contact center is sitting in isolation and only looking at the data point that they touch in real time and not considering all these other signals and inputs, it will risk that something has to reach critical mass before it can be root cause and identified as what the problem is. So I think that that's part of the challenge in terms of it is one data point. It is not indicative of all of the data points. So you have to be able to bring in these other signals real time so that you can figure out what it is. And I think that to answer your specific question about how do you present that to the executive team, it is being able to articulate what are all the inputs, the data points, the channels that are letting you know the health of your organization and how are you incorporating those into the storyboard that you're putting together. And as long as service is sitting out there on its island, not engaged and involved and participating in the conversations, you have a really big blind spot to be able to identify.
I love this. Let's dig in here a little bit more before we shift to your player tips. So you were talking a little bit more about the broader signals, right?
Mhm.
What are those? Like you've led so many successful contact centers. You've transformed them. You mentioned Citi, don't forget 7-Eleven and many others. What are all of those signals that as a world-class contact center leader, you look at to be able to help you form that complete picture and story that needs to be told?
Yeah. So I have to tell those. Yeah, I'm a storyteller. I
Tell
got
a
to tell a
story,
little
girl.
bit of a
Tell it.
story and then I'll get back to the
Tell it.
KPIs because here's what changed for me. I had again another Citi story though. I had gone to work at Citi and was pretty new and I was talking to the contact center leader and I was like, you know, I'm shiny. I'm excited. I want to figure out how do I support him. And he looks at me and at that time we had one of those like 5-inch binders, like a big thick binder. And he looks at me and he's like, Michelle, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate it. And he kind of drops it on the table and he said, but you see this book? This is how my contact center is doing. It's page after page after page of report. He goes, let's look at your CX, NPS at the time, CS. Let's look at your CSAT scores. Oh, they're on page 34. You know what that tells me? Absolutely nothing. I have no idea what my business is doing. I have this big binder with all these reports. I don't know. So here, Michelle, would you please just tell me how my business is doing and what I need to do about it right now? And if you can do that, then I'm in. I'm sold. And that was like the biggest gift he could have given me in terms of, oh, I've got to really think about this differently. And it changed how the entire team, customer experience team, was looking at data. And what that led me to was then, all right, let's talk about inputs. Well, number one, when you're in a world where the majority of the interactions are happening in digital, you better be looking at the real-time digital indicators, the churn, the bird nesting, all those things that's happening right now in terms of successfully completing a transaction. So the digital experience KPIs, critically important. So what does that mean? That means you better be talking to the digital team, because you probably aren't in customer service, customer experience right now. Social media. What are the conversations happening real time in social media? Going back to my example of calls are spiking, we don't know why. 7-Eleven example, we couldn't figure it out. We had just in social media, because one customer posted a video, one video was allowed us to root cause why the calls were spiking at a particular, one particular day, right? And that was real time bringing those data in. So customer, any kind of voice of the customer, but also any behavioral metrics. And then sales metrics, traffic metrics, as they're connected to maybe when a new ad is placed, when a new campaign is happening, what's a new product we launched. Those are the things that you need to be paying attention to. And oftentimes, almost always, the customer service leader is separated from that type of insight and information around what is happening across the business. And it puts them at a disadvantage.
This is a masterclass right now. There's two that I love. The one I wasn't even thinking about. If you really think about it, every business, every brand that I've worked with, at least 55 to 60% of calls coming inbound in the customer care center was due to a digital friction, right? And so I am with you. Sometimes we don't see we don't get feedback on those digital frictions. To your point, it happens in the bird nesting, the rage clicking, right? Those specific things where then it drives a call into the contact center. So it increases, if it's a customer who's never done business with you before, it drives customer acquisition cost, right? It drives your cost, to serve. The one that I wasn't thinking about that you just put me back into a campaign launch at Aaron's was the marketing ads. I completely forgotten that one. And you just put me back into, we used to call it the war room. Probably shouldn't call it that anymore. But I loved our gal, Laurent Greer. She was always cross-functionally. She had someone from our home solution center on because she's like, I know you'll get calls and I want you to be aware of this kind of flash sale that we're doing this weekend. And we know it could cause maybe some digital friction with promo codes, whatever it may be, right? We're limiting the sale to specific things. You gave me a great flashback because Laurent was exceptional marketer, but I don't think many contact centers even think about that.
No. And kudos to Laurent for developing that relationship where she's proactively bringing something to you. And then let's just blow that example out further. Now when we do these types of campaigns, here's what's happening. So now how do we create a system where we are proactively bringing that information before the next campaign is designed and developed? So you're always refining and leveling up the quality of the campaign because you've got that continuous improvement loop. And that's something that becomes standard operating procedure that we just don't do well. We just don't do today.
No, I know. So again, one more question before we get to the player, because this is such a fantastic conversation. And it really wakens it up back to the topic that you want to unfuck. As you gotten out of industry, you and I were peers at Medallia. And so I know you have consulted for a lot of brands. You've worked with a lot of brands. How many times would you log in and look at a digital leader dashboard and then a customer service leader dashboard, and neither one of them had shared metrics?
I'm trying to think if there's one example that comes to mind where I can tell you they were doing it, and I might be missing something, but yeah, generally, no, they weren't doing it. They're not doing
And that's look, and when I was
it. Mhm.
early on in my career too, right? Like I wasn't thinking about the calls into the contact center that really should be owned by the e-commerce leader,
Mhm.
right? Like you start to learn these
Mhm.
things. But it's 2025.
Yeah.
How like I just don't get it. Like, how are we not working cross-functionally here as CX leaders?
What's interesting about this, though, is I think you think about an organization and how organizations are held accountable. It's if we were to map out the customer journey end to end, and if you were to overlay departmental KPIs, there's a beginning and an end, and it's never all. And that's where I think just it's inherent to the way operations is set up in a business and how success is defined that going back to your marketing example, right? They're okay. How many people clicked on the ad? How many people went into the store or what, whatever they actually purchased? Because marketing is like, we're bringing traffic, we're bringing traffic. But what happens outside of that is total blind spot, right? And now, if you think about, okay, let's use this again, stick with this example. I create this new marketing campaign. I get people in, but in a store situation, let's say the associates in that store, they didn't know how to handle it. So then it all broke down. That information is never getting back to that marketing team. They're like, well, we brought the traffic in, we did our job. So that's the stuff that you have to be able to go back, do the postmortem, figure out a systematic way to always be improving and refining because you want to make sure that those teams, every team understands how their piece of the pie is rolling up to some overall measure of success. And it's not NPS and it's not satisfaction. It is were you able to complete fully? Yes or no? Did it work? Did it not?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll never forget the first metric that we got rid of was NPS. And we actually leveraged how satisfied were you with our attempt to resolve the issue, right? Because ultimately at that time, our agents' hands were strapped, right?
Hmm.
They could only serve the policies that were set in place for them. And so it was really eye-opening to see even just a dissatisfaction there.
Yeah.
And as we tried to root cause it, it was like, look, we have policies that are 10, 15 years old. Our policies should be updated quarterly.
Yes, yes. And I got always asked the question, going back to how satisfied are you with our attempt to resolve? That's a great question. Then your job as a leader is to go, okay, if they say they're dissatisfied, then I needed to figure out, is it a will problem with the agent? Is it a skill problem with the agent? Or is it a process problem? Because depending on which of those it is, has a very different course of action in order to make it right. And I
So
think that's something else is being able to really distinguish then where is the breakdown. It's not just let's go reprimand the agent because they got a poor score. Why? I want to know why.
yeah, you're so spot on there. I mean, most of them were process issues. I mean, we were
Hmm.
operating on policies that were 10, 15 years old, right? And unfortunately, our agents had been telling this. Of course, we were ignoring them.
Yeah. And you're measuring those agents
Yeah.
you're measuring them and holding them accountable and their performance is measured on things they have no control over. And that is so unfair to those agents and shame
Yeah,
on leadership when they do
absolutely.
that.
Shame on us. And we wonder why our engagement scores were low. We wonder
Hmm.
why people hated their job. We wonder why their turnover rate was high, right? Because we didn't want to look under the hood. No one was doing a root cause analysis. It was just perform, perform, perform. Michelle, we got to get to the player tips.
All right.
All right. We know what we're unfucking.
Yes.
The first player tip.
Awesome. Because we talked a little bit about it. I think number one player tip, contact center, customer service leaders, see the whole iceberg, not just the tip.
Mm,
Because your whole world is built around all the failure. But if you were to zoom out, what you will learn is that the failures are typically a really small percentage of the overall success of what's happening in the company. And whenever you are able to shift and understand that, that will also allow you to stop drowning in complaints. It helps you understand the story behind the story, and it allows you to kind of emotionally regulate, like protect your sanity from the drain that dealing with all the bad stuff happens. And it then invites you to strengthen your credibility and how you show up, and what would lead me to my second player tip. But before I do that, I'll stop there.
No, I love that analogy. So let's go roll right into player tip 2.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about the data you're setting on being a gold mine. So you've got to, I'll say, don't guard the mine. Don't guard this gold mine of insights that you have, because you are hoarding them when they could actually be your power move. So if you take this information and you are able to align yourself to whatever the sexiest thing is that's going on at the company, where is everyone's attention? Maybe there is a big, brand shift. Maybe there is a huge new product launch. Maybe there's something like that. While you have all this great VOC data, let's go focus on the data that aligns to the sexy attention-getting project that everybody's focused on. Because when you can go there and you can say, because again, you're looking at the whole iceberg, you can go in and say, man, I'll use an example from 7-Eleven. One of our big sexy initiatives was the loyalty app, right? We wanted to have a lot of subscribers. So you go in and you say, our whole initiative is around loyalty, subscribers, downloads of the app. Did you know, digital team, loyalty team, that if we made these 3 tweaks, we could actually increase our subscribers by X%? So instead of saying, that app isn't working, I'm dealing with all these complaints about the app, because again, whole iceberg, the app's working great. There are some exceptions. And when I can go in and bring them that data in a way that says, I'm going to help you get even better, and I want to congratulate you on how well it's doing, so let's level it up further. Now you are able to really start bringing value and be a critical player to get you, again, out of isolation and off that.
I love that. That's it. I call it the influence model, where you don't have ownership over the KPIs. However, you take and use that data as a power move to influence a KPI to get moved that they own. Not only are you just going to influence that one KPI, you will influence that leader their entire career.
Yes.
Because now you are helping them achieve KPIs that they are held accountable to, that if they don't hit, they'll lose their job.
Yes. Well, and that is such a perfect going into player tip number 3, because I was like, build your posse, build your allies. And exactly what you said, you have now developed that relationship. You have helped them, what I say, hit a single. You just need to get that one win so you can get that credibility. But here's the follow-on step. Now you ask that leader, hey, would you agree that these types of insights really helped move you forward, helped you achieve your goals? Yes, great. I am trying to really break into that marketing department over there. Will you help me by sharing your experience working with the team? Will you be a champion to help me break through instead of feeling like I'm not being heard? Because leaders trust their peers. And whenever their peers come in and say, man, this made a big difference by working with, Michelle and her team, then it will cut through a lot of the friction and noise that often you run into when you're trying to really integrate customer into the organization.
Absolutely. It's the power of champions. It's exactly how I won, just like you did.
Yeah.
It was create one, let them actually do the readout in that cross-functional kind of leadership meeting, and then it becomes a pull and not a push. I love them. I love your player tips. They're so practical, and I think because they're so practical, they're not looked at as a magic bullet, and so CX leaders are like, there's got to be something else. And if anything, for anyone who's been listening, Michelle has just laid down a fucking masterclass for you. Masterclass, Michelle.
We know. So why do we do this? Because we have the bruises and the battle scars when we want to be the adversarial, pointing their finger. Y'all are screwing everything up. Marketing team, let me tell you what you're doing wrong. And I said, people would run the other direction when I would show up, because that's what they knew where they were going to get from me. So I had to learn and evolve.
Yeah.
This then becomes a repeatable system and process, like Zack, because this is what you built your success on too, is You got to show up in a completely different way and understand the role you play in the company's success, and you will be a far better champion for your customers and your employees whenever you do that.
Couldn't said it better myself. Michelle, this has been amazing. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, to continue the conversation, to learn more from you, where can they find you?
Yeah, it's in two places, kind of two different topics. But if you want it, we're talking CX, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. Love LinkedIn. And then I also do coaching around executive women on really finding more fulfillment. And if that's something you're interested in as well, then I would say it also shows up on LinkedIn. But my website, The Brave Advantage, is a great place to connect with me there.
Yeah, Michelle, it's been awesome. For all of our listeners, we launched this in the newsletter. Just open the newsletter. You'll see everything is there. We'll have anywhere that you can get in touch with Michelle will be noted there. Michelle, come back soon. The
Thank you
hot
so much, Zach.
is always open to you.